Hello, everyone, and welcome to another epic, phenomenal episode of Empowered Conversations, where I have amazing conversations with extraordinary people who are out doing beautiful things in the world in service to others and just all around living their best lives. And holy frickin' cow, y'all, this guy today, Vikash, is through the roof amazing. I cannot say enough about how amazing he is. I've been talking to him for like the last 15 minutes. He's one of the co-hosts whoop, 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 of the ultimate quantum retreat. You've got to sign up. You've got, if you can come out and be with all of us in person, there's going to be 14 speakers, but we also have a Zoom ticket if you're not able to attend in person. It's Tucson, Arizona. It's the weekend of May 13th through the 15th. It's going to be so exciting. It's just going to be 3 packed full days of phenomenalness. And that's just all I'm going to say. You just click the link and see for yourself. It's going to be exciting, but I've got to bring on my guests, y'all. Vikash is an inspirational speaker. He's a spiritual coach and best-selling author of the book Rolling with It: Lessons Learned While Sitting Down. Rolling with It is a depiction of Vikash's raw and humorous personal spiritual journey that started with an accident that left him a paraplegic at 22 years old. This catalytic event sparked a seeker's journey to understand the relationship between our thoughts and emotions and the reality that we are creating because of it. This story isn't like any story you've ever read because this one is about a guy who had to come to terms with a sitting perspective of life and unwavering curiosity to understand reality and the hard lessons he received because of it. Vikash is also passionate about helping others gain a better understanding of how to identify and release emotional blocks, power up their intuition, and live from elevated emotions to live life they truly want and how they want to live it. So yeah, everybody, whoop whoop whoop. Drum roll please. Help me in welcoming Vikash.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. That was such a such a warm welcome. I love the enthusiasm, Stephanie.
Well, you are just so fabulous. It's easy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been talking to you like for the last 15 minutes and your energy is just so beautiful and like euphoric. You're just such a, wonderful. You can just see. And I haven't even met you in person yet, but I can just see how wonderful you are.
Well, thank you. I try, you know.
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of work behind the scenes that goes to that.
Abso-freaking-lutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. So, again, thank you so much. It's such an honor to have you here, and I really am through the roof to meet you in person, in May. That's gonna be so fabulous.
Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be such an
Yeah,
awesome event.
yeah. Oh my gosh. So, you know, Vikash, just I'm mesmerized by your story. It's enormously remarkable, what you've been able to do for yourself, through, what happened and what and I just share with myself and my audience, your journey.
Mhm. Well, back in July 29, 2006, so over 15 years ago,
Mhm.
I had an accident. I was a college kid. I was 22 years old. We went out partying. I was a big partier back then, and when we finished at the club and we decided to go back to my apartment for the after party, and as we got there, um there were we actually took cabs to and from the club, so we were
Mhm.
responsible drunk people, you know. And we got back to the apartment and there was one cab missing, and so I got into the balcony to call my cousin who was in the missing cab, and he said he was just right around the corner. And so I don't know, I was kind of all out of sorts, and I decided to lean over my balcony to see if I could see any headlights coming. And the next thing I know it, like, I lost my balance, and then the next thing I know it, I'm being awoken on the ground. And what essentially happened was I fell off the balcony, fractured my spine, and became a paraplegic. I mean, was led to the hospital after that, and then you can imagine, like, a scene from the ER, like some sort of
Yeah.
hospital TV show. Like, that's really what I felt like I was in. And the doctors gave me a 5% chance of ever walking again. So at 22 years old, kind of experiencing something like this, it was just like, whoa, how did I get here?
Right.
And and what am I supposed to do from here? So I was really not accepting the first few years. I was really just spent a lot of time traveling the world to try out all sorts of alternative treatments,
Hmm.
for those first 3 or 4 years, and nothing really worked. And I also was like really angry, and I had a lot of emotions that
Yeah.
I had no emotional awareness at the time.
Hmm.
And so that eventually led, I've grown up with spiritual gurus in my life. And
Hmm.
I was called to go to India back in 2009, and I met this guru. And I spoke to her, and I just said, like, I've been doing all this stuff and nothing has worked. I don't know where to go from here.
Hmm.
And she told me, like, the simplest sentence I ever heard that I never thought. And she just said, if this is your life right now, how are you going to live it? And that sentence, that question, was the biggest game changer for me.
Hmm.
From then, I was living with my parents after my accident, so I moved out of my parents' house, went back to school, got a job, just started figuring out the
Right.
things that I could do, and proving to myself that I could live independently. I mean, I was able to dress myself and do like kind of normal things, but things like being able to go to a grocery store from a wheelchair perspective, and
Right.
cleaning the house and just doing like whatever I needed to do. There was just a lot of things that I hadn't done regularly, and I had to prove to myself that that was something I could do. And that's when I really kind of fell into seeing synchronicities. And so, like these like funny coincidences that happened. Um, I guess when you're like really in flow. And so
Hmm.
I let go of the resistance that was holding me back from living my life. And then I started stepping forward, and I wanted to play things like wheelchair basketball, and I wanted to get involved with the wheelchair community. And literally, my family lives in McAllen, Texas. I moved to
Hmm.
Houston, Texas, to go back to school at the time. And I was driving down the road the first week I moved there, and I see a billboard, and the billboard said Abilities Expo. And it was like this giant expo, this giant like show that had like everything to do with wheelchair community, wheelchair products, wheelchair sports, including basketball. And that's how I got in touch with these people. This event was happening for the first time ever in Houston the weekend after I moved. So it's just like so many things. And from there, I wanted a job like at these apartments that I lived at. And then a week later, I got an email for a job opening, and I get the job. And so I started seeing all these little patterns and synchronicities that would happen when I was going for things that I wanted to do. And that's when
Hmm.
I started getting really curious, like, what is life? How do we influence life? Like, how do like our thoughts create our reality? And that's led me to really getting into this work of curiosity and wanting to live my best life, essentially.
Oh my God, cold chills, waves of cold chills. And one of the, because I've been writing stuff down. These are like what I would consider gold nuggets. And when
Hmm.
you talk about emotional awareness, and that up until that point, like when you saw the guru over in India,
Hmm.
like you hadn't experienced that emotional awareness for yourself because you were in resistance mode, like fighting in essence, like I want to walk again, obviously.
Right.
And but that's not at, what the universe had in mind. So it's like, okay, and when she said that, it's almost like a ding ding ding.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's a gift if if I allow myself the emotional awareness, and then look at, and then you're like synchronicity after, because then all of a sudden, when that blinder or that wall is removed, synchronicity, information's just flooding, and then you're more open, and then you're asking questions, and then you're running to the billboard.
Mhm.
Like, oh my God,
Exactly.
cold chills.
I know, when like life opens up in that way, it's just such a game changer. And my mom was really into Wayne Dyer.
Yes.
So I actually like I would tell my mom all these like synchronicities that would happen. I called them coincidences at the time.
Hmm.
And so I told my mom, and my mom was like, "Oh, Wayne Dyer calls them synchronicities." That's how I learned the word. And so my mom, in September 2011, there was an event uh, in uh, in New York for Hay House, and she wanted
Hmm.
to go see Wayne Dyer speak. So she told me to come with her, and a couple of her sisters went. And on the way over there, she goes, I'm gonna meet Wayne Dyer. I'm gonna meet Wayne Dyer. I'm gonna meet Wayne Dyer. She started saying it over and over again, and her sisters are like really like painting the picture with her, and is like, oh, what are you gonna wear when you meet Wayne Dyer? And like, what are really like getting into? He's gonna call you up on stage, and they create this whole scene, and I'm literally looking at them like, you guys are crazy. Like, like at the time, like I was still so new to this. Like this,
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, you guys are gonna meet Wayne Dyer, whatever. And so the next morning we get to the venue, and we get to our seats, and my mom goes to the bathroom before the event started, and she comes out, and Wayne Dyer's standing right there.
Mm.
And so she goes to him, and she's like crying, and she's like, Wayne Dyer, my son had this accident, and your work has helped me tremendously. And then like he hugged her, he wiped her tears. He's like, where are you guys sitting? He's like, your son's here. He's like, oh, okay, okay. He's like, all right, well, I gotta get started. So he goes on stage. My mom comes back to our seats like hysterical, like I just met Wayne Dyer, like
Oh my
losing her mind. And then Wayne Dyer starts his entire speech saying, "So I just met this lady, and her son had, and this is in front of like 2,000 people, right? Like it's a crazy event, and like her son had this accident, and then my mom's name is Mulka. He's like, Mulka, why don't you come up on stage? And it's like this is exactly what like my mom and her sisters were like
oh my God.
reciting the night before.
Holy.
So she
Wow.
goes on stage. He gives her like a gift, this purse that his daughter made from recycled bottles. and
Right.
then and then he and then she leaves, and then he calls me up, and I just raise my hand, and he's like, I want you to really pay attention to everything I have to say today. And the whole speech was about mastering the art of manifestation. And the words he told me was, this is the best thing that ever happened to you. And at the time I was like, I don't know about that, dude. But all that happened, and like it was just such a punch in the face for me, because it's like my mom is here saying like I'm gonna meet him, and then for it to manifest in this
Uh-huh.
way, where this dude is talking directly to me on stage saying like there's a message for you here. So that's what really started this journey for me.
Like, please don't stop. I am like in a wave of cold chills, because that's another synchronicity.
Oh yeah.
That that experience, and we all do it. And sometimes you maybe even don't even realize it. But when your heart is so tied so passionately to something that you want to experience or you want to have in your life, and you envision that, like your sisters were helping her using the tools that Wayne Dyer teaches.
Exactly.
And damn if it didn't just manifest as they had envisioned and felt. It's not about just thinking. It's about the feeling they were experiencing, that with that vibration they were putting out, and they 100% brought that, manifested that, created that.
Oh yeah, there's no question. There's
Yeah.
it's just so exact. And have you know of Anita Murjani? You
No.
familiar?
Mm-mm, mm-mm. Let me
So
write that down.
so this is a lady that Wayne Dyer discovered, and at the time at that event we went to, She wasn't out yet. Her book wasn't out yet, but she is a lady who she had cancer all over her body. She had
Oh,
end stage cancer, and he spoke about her in that speech that he gave that day. And so this lady, end stage cancer, she goes into a coma. Doctors are like, "All right, she's done. Like, say her goodbyes." And she actually goes into the other realm, and she goes out of body, and she thinks of a tree, and she's a tree, like she's just formless. And so she said in that she crossed over and she connected with her best friend who had also passed away from cancer, and her dad who had passed away years prior. And there she was given a message that all the whatever that guilt and unworthiness and anything that was like left over from those relationships, to like let it completely go. And that the cancer was there because of her fear, and that she had a mission. She was not to die yet, and she was going to come back to life and miraculously heal and go on a journey teaching the world to love themselves. So Wayne Dyer discovered her, wrote the foreword to her book. The foreword to her book is called "Dying to Be Me," and the book is
oh
called
my.
"Dying to Be Me,"
Okay.
and and um and so so we hear the story while we're up on stage, or while sorry while we're at that event. And this lady, my last name is Shivdasani, her last name is Murjani. We're the same type of Indian people. And so immediately after the event, we called. She at the time lived in Hong Kong. She now lives in LA. But we called a bunch of our relatives in Hong Kong, got in contact with her because it was just like such a crazy story. Like she literally came back and healed in 3 weeks from end stage cancer. Doctors were doing all sorts of tests on her, and literally went up to her and said, "Sorry, ma'am, we have bad news, but we know you have cancer. We just can't find it." Right. And so she knew that she was healed. And then, eventually went on this journey. And so a month later, after that event, we actually connected with her. She came to LA to give a speech, and then we connected with her, and she basically became a friend of mine ever since, and was one of my mentors moving forward, which which led me to, because she basically at the time, I'll say, I was like, I went back to school for accounting, and I had like no passion for accounting. It was just literally what other Indian kids did, and like just that kind of thing. And she really like pushed me to be like, what is it that you actually want to do? What is your calling? What is your passion? And at the time, it was like I was really passionate about doing comedy, sit down, not stand up, because I, being in a wheelchair, like I always I was most of the time was like the only person in a wheelchair whenever I'd communicate with people. So I'd always throw in jokes to break the ice and things like that. And like that's how I roll or whatever. And then that eventually led me to I did comedy for like 2 years. And it led me to speaking and eventually coaching. But through that process, a lot of things came up for me, and I had to experience quite a few health issues,
Mm-hmm.
skin wounds, pressure sores, which is common with people that are wheelchair bound.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, what I took from it, because I mean, we're talking about like I was bedridden for 3 to 6 months at a time, almost three times. And so in the span of like 3 to 4 years. And so in those times, because I had the awareness now that like, we're shedding emotions, and it's really about like connecting
Mm-hmm.
to who you want to be. But on that journey, there's a lot to let go. I was holding a lot of things. I had a tough relationship with my dad growing up. And I had a lot of, worthy issues and limited beliefs. And
Mm-hmm.
so while I was in these health issues, I was journaling and just trying to get as much of that emotion out and cleared. And I mean, it went. I mean, when we talk about Dark Night of the Souls, like I've been to a few of them, and
Yeah, we all, yeah, all of us that are on this, the journey, of greater self-awareness, definitely.
right. And so it kind of like, and so basically after I finished those health issues and got clear, really, really changed the relationship with my dad. There was a lot of things that we were both, holding, and he never had emotional awareness, right? So
Right.
it was like my journey to also bring him into this, and
Mm-hmm.
um and that's what eventually led me to being a coach, where I kind of like break things down into four quadrants, four categories, right?
Love it.
And so when we really like are on this spiritual journey, it comes down to these four things. One, releasing emotional baggage, right? We're always we're always accumulating energy, like an emotion, right? Where whether you're watching TV,
Right.
you're having a conversation with somebody or whatever, like that's why it's important to meditate every day or to do some sort of self-awareness activity every day, so you can shed whatever you're accumulating. So the releasing that energy, releasing emotions is the first one. The more you release emotions, the more you can connect to your intuition, right?
Yeah.
The intuition is the GPS of your soul, and it's not going to be analytical. It's going to
Right.
be direct. And so we want to be able to build that awareness and that connection, to that trust, to be able to follow those instructions, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
From there, we set intentions for manifestation.
Uh-huh. Is that number two?
That's number three.
Okay, so number two is connecting with your intuition.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Number two is connecting to your intuition. Number three is setting intentions, manifesting, putting that vision out of what you're trying to create.
Mm-hmm.
And number four is living in your own energy.
Oh.
We get so caught up with like other people's dramas, and I mean especially like with COVID and the war and like so many
Yes.
things, and yeah, you want to give some attention to this stuff, but at the same time, how much of it is taking you away from yourself?
Exactly.
And really building, these are all skills that we can build so that we're not getting consumed by other people, and rather learning more and more to hold space and seeing other people move through whatever they're moving through, and
Mm-hmm.
even the collective, in order to be able to stay in a high vibrational place. And all of this stuff that I've gone through has kind of led me to being able to teach this.
Absolutely. And it's not, I mean, there's no way to be in that high vibrational state 100% of the time. So
Right.
and that's where, daily, annoyances or daily situations or bullshit that we would, one would consider bullshit. Um, it's like, it's just bringing us back. It's just bringing, like, there were a couple things today that I became frustrated over. And I'm like, tap me on the shoulder, tap me on the shoulder. But then I was aware enough to go, wait, this is just something to, it's another, hold on a second, another, like, assignment.
Hmm.
Like, you can look at it as an assignment to then bring back my awareness and focus on the joy, or focus on what is going well or what is amazing. And we have daily,
Hmm.
you know, you know, assignments to do that. That there's continuous.
Yeah, it's continuous. It's a habit. I'm a big follower of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I've been to a number of
Oh my God.
yeah.
I
I mean,
watch his kaleidoscope meditations
oh
every day,
yeah.
and I recommend those meditations with my clients.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, I love Dr. Joe. I've been to a number of workshops, like, and so, another, like, this is all neuroscience. Like, our brain is just, we have these patterns that we've just habituated into what is our personality now. And it just takes that practice, that catching yourself, and that practice to bringing yourself back, and really tapping into how you do actually want to feel, and what you do want to project, because energy is everything.
Absolutely. So I was first introduced to Joe Dispenza, and I'm sure you've seen What the Bleep Do We Know?
Yes.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Oh my God. Cold chills
Mhm.
again. When he's talking about, he said he goes, neurons that wire together, fire together.
Mhm.
And if you are in, we are all like, and I like to, my thing is, we are all brainwashed and hypnotized by the way in which we carry out our everyday. So if
100%.
you want something more or different, then you must train your brain, your subconscious mind, that then, helps with control, like not control your actions, but then you're more able to take right action to create that which you are wanting. And but it takes concerted effort, especially if you are in that habit of being in a bad mood, getting easily pissed off, getting easily irritated. One of my girlfriends yesterday on our clubhouse, we were having a discussion about the four agreements. And the
Mhm.
first agreement is, your word. And she was telling a situation in which her and her husband and her mother-in-law had stopped at a gas station to pump gas. And her husband went to put the card in, and it wouldn't work. And so he had to go inside the building to pay for his gas. And the mother-in-law, which, yeah, she's technically a grandmother as well. But she's like, oh God, everything's always so complicated. And my friend was like, it is what it is. But it's both of them have a mindset. And I mentioned that it's like antennas. Your antenna.
Mhm.
What are your antennas, seeking? What are they, tuning into? What is that radio dial? What is your individual radio dial tuning into? And then, because that experience happened for all three of them,
Mhm.
100%. But it was the feeling that the mother-in-law had that was a negative association, whereas the daughter-in-law was just like, okay, so we're you know but again, but that's a situation in which we can all look at, go, what is my mindset? What is my heart set? How am I brainwashed and hypnotized?
Right, absolutely. And going back to like in the beginning of this conversation when I said the guru told me if this is your life right now, how are you going to live it? I was in a radio dial, a frequency of limitation and resistance to this.
Hmm.
Once she pretty much changed the channel for me, right? There was so much more possibility, and I think that's what it is every time, right? Like we get caught up in a certain thought pattern, but once we break through it, now it's like, okay, without that, I can do all these things. It's just my mind that's telling me differently, or just some emotion that needs to be let go. And it's like that over and over and over again. And for a lot of people that might not be on this level of awareness, or like,
Right.
checking with yourself every day and
Right.
kind of changing the thought patterns, it may sound like a lot of work, but at the same time, like, what are you what are you losing by not stepping into this, because you're constantly staying the same and creating the same kind of possibilities and the same reality, when you could really be thriving and living that best life by doing this work. And honestly, when you are on this path, like, it's so rewarding, because
Yes.
as much work as it is, you see the fruits that you bear, that you see what you're reaping. Um
Yes,
so
like being co-hosting at a retreat out in Arizona with 14
yeah.
other freaking fabulous individuals.
Oh, absolutely. And I can't wait. Arizona is such an amazing place too. Like, just to be there doing a spiritual event and speaking, and I mean,
Yeah.
I feel so lucky to just be a part of it.
Yeah, yeah, and the other token, it's not luck.
Mhm.
It's what you have manifested and created by that new emotional awareness, and then the journey that you have been had made a concerted effort and been intentional to be on.
Right. It's alignment, right? It's
Alignment, yes. Oh my
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
One of my girlfriends, she's a tarologist, spiritual guru. I absolutely adore her. And one of the cards that I received in a box that I, had purchased from her was the card of alignment.
Mm.
And the most recent one was purification. But no, I wanted to say something. You talk about you said sit down, and
Sit down
comedy.
comedy, yeah.
One of my girlfriends, she's in Canada. Not met her in person either, but I love this girl to death. And she's been on Empowered Conversation several months ago. But she is the sit down, stand up comic. and she has the sit down stand, yes, sit down stand up comedy stand. She has a comedy stand right out in front of her yard, like
Oh
near the
wow.
sidewalk in Canada, in Vancouver, Canada. You got to look her up. Y'all got to connect. She's freaking amazing. And she goes out there like a couple days a week, and she just sits out there with her, and people coming by and they stop. She's been on the news. She is so fabulous. But sit down, stand up comedy. Come out. All right, y'all. Sorry, but I can't talk today. Sit down, stand up, comic.
I will definitely
Yeah,
check her out. That sounds
yeah.
awesome.
Yes, Tanya Horn.
Tanya
Tanya Horn
Horn.
is her name. So,
Absolutely.
oh my God, I love this. Like I've been taking down so many notes. Synchronicities. It's like, again, like you were calling them coincidences. Okay,
Mhm.
so but they weren't coincidence. They were in synchronicity
Yep.
with what you, and in alignment with what you were now being.
Mhm.
You know, and but we're always synchronizing how we're being.
Right. And what does that even mean, right? When you really think
Hmm.
about like these other factors at play that create those situations. I mean, in my book, by the way, my book
Yes.
is called Rolling with It: Lessons Learned While Sitting Down. And in the book about in the chapter about synchronicities, I call it Follow the Breadcrumbs, right? Because it's the breadcrumbs that are leading you on on this journey. And and I like to think about like all the other factors that are at play for this to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like Donnie Epstein, he's like another wizard energy person that I've learned from, and there's something that he says that I really like. He says, you know, you're never going to be good enough. He's like, you as you are, like, get it out of your head that you think you're going to be good enough for what you are like meant to do. You're never going to be good enough because it's you in conjunction with the other forces that are at play. When we get caught up and say like, I got to do this, and this is like the journey I'm on, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
you're never going to feel good enough. But when you know that you're truly connected to so much more, that there's other factors at play, that there's synchronicities and signs being shown to you, let intuition guiding you, when you know that there's all these other things, that's when you live your best life. That's when you take it to that level, because it's not just you, you know? So
Abso-freaking-lutely, and I just can't emphasize enough, guys, the state of continuous cold chill that I am experiencing. Speaking with Vikash today, I am serious. Wow.
yeah, another thing, like, on this journey I've been on, my family's really been on it with me. And you know, about like a uh year after we went to that event, my parents, my mom and her sisters started a nonprofit organization called Infinite Love.
Ooh,
And it's based down here in McAllen, Texas. And it's they just felt the need, like we all kind of went through a lot. My accident happened, my other aunt had a divorce. My other aunt had her husband died from cancer. I had another cousin that died from cancer. Like everything all happened in like a pretty much the same time frame. And so in 2012 this organization was born, and so we all got into meditation out of it. So we it's a meditation center that people meet once a week. And it's been such a bright light for the community. For a while they were feeding the homeless. They provide emotional support to cancer patients, and you know, feed them. Their website, by the way, is loveisinfinite.org. But it's a big, this organization, they actually also created their own speaking events. We were inspired after going to that Wayne Dyer event to do like smaller versions of it here, and we brought in people like Neil Donald Walsh and Elizabeth Gilbert and Kyle Cease and Anita Murjani. And I mean, in this whole journey of mine, like I was doing comedy, and it really led me to kind of being a funny motivational speaker, opening up for all these speakers that we would bring down. But I bring that up just to me being able to share a lot of this knowledge and just my own understanding, it's taken a village to kind of get me to where I am. And it's just all these amazing things that I talk about in my book, that really provide light in the world. And
Thank you.
and I feel like my purpose here, because I had an accident that led me in a wheelchair, and I saw kind of just so much how so many people responded to me just by me being funny or being normal. um
Yeah.
was amazing that I had that power to affect people positively that way. And I know my journey, as I keep going, is to keep raising the vibe and spreading
Right.
light. And I said in the beginning that I was on this journey, trying to walk again, and I don't let go of that journey.
Right.
Um, and there's a lot of things. It's just interesting, and I'm just sharing this because this is just
Please.
a thought process that I deal with. But like Anita Murjani, for example, that I spoke to, like, she was a very strong example of possibility for me. Somebody that had end stage cancer and then would heal. And then I got involved with Dr. Joe Dispenza, went to a bunch of workshops, saw so many people heal from like the most ridiculous of circumstances. And Dr. Joe himself had a spinal cord injury. And there's a
Yes.
there's a lot of mystical experiences and things that happen in those kind of workshops. You're talking about workshops with 1,000 people for a week long, like meditating all day and getting into really crazy states. So I have experienced a lot of like these visions of me standing up on stage and telling my story. But not only that, I've had like probably hundreds of people by now, like that have come to me with the exact same vision, which like blows me away every time. And science, current science, medical stuff,
Yes.
they've now there's a lot of stuff coming out that they can not inject, install or implant. There, that's the word.
Install. We're
Close
going
enough.
to install this catalytic converter here.
Right, but
Yeah.
they're implanting these electric stimulators to the spine, and there's been like amazing results out of it. And time until like it's like really available to everyone. But like whether it's like that or if it's like some intentional thing where my cells decide to change, and I just live in a space of all possibility because I know all of this is possible. And when we're talking about manifestation, everything happens at the right time. And so
Yes.
the journey for anyone, for whatever you're creating, no matter if it's a health condition that you're trying to get out away from, or you're trying to make a lot of money, or whatever it is, the more and more you're okay in the moment, and with whatever the situation is, putting those intentions out there, and living in that possibility, it's going to happen. And that's just the way I live my life in every
Yes.
aspect. Nothing is impossible if I can believe in it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And so there's two things. As you're talking about that, and I'm thinking about, certain things in my own life. Um, it's like there is something, um, unbeknownst, maybe consciously, that you're still here for in this particular realm,
Right.
but it doesn't. And then all of a sudden, when there's no tie to it, or it's then it is possible you to be
Right.
standing on that stage,
Hmm.
and then your journey is even more, like, even greater and blossomed, even, the access to even more.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Okay.
Okay.
This is about like what's going on over in Russia. Okay.
Mhm.
So I think, like, it's war is like, to me, it's like, what the fuck? Like, what?
Yeah.
We're still,
Are we past this?
doing, yeah, thank you. Like, we're still doing that shit. And it's like, and I get some bells, but that's the way the world works. That's how things are. It's the way it's always been, blah, 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 blah. But I envision a world in which there is no need for armies or wars. Like, we all cohesively, because we're all one. We are all of one another, each other. There are no borders. Like, we're all of this universe.
Hmm.
And so I do think it is possible, maybe not in my lifetime, maybe not tomorrow, for us to never need to be in a state of war. I I want you, because you've been talking about unity,
Hmm.
one, what is your opinion on that possibility?
Right. Well, I mean, we've dealt a lot in the last 2 years, and leading up to this, which is just it's just so insane to me, as well. But I think the more and more we're being shown in our external world that this level of hate and negativity exists, I like to see everything as a reflection of me. The
Mhm.
more and more I can do that, because even if I'm like looking at that, right, there's still like the other side of like, oh, they're so stupid because they're like because they're in war. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
then we're going into like a negative space of like,
Yes.
right,
Mhm.
and projecting that onto that. So it's like
Mhm.
one of like acknowledging that this does exist,
Yeah.
and but we got to focus on ourselves.
Mhm.
The I feel like the better version of ourselves that we can be, the brighter lights that we are, we don't realize that energy is non-local, which means that you can send energy anywhere. You can think about the war and you can send positive vibes, and like, all right, if this needs to happen for the evolution of human consciousness, well, that's great. But I like, I'm going to put all my intention in for the least casualties and for the fastest resolution. And the more we can kind of send that energy, we're playing an impact, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
this is
agree.
it's not as much about like voting. You need the right person to vote for, like feeling helpless that you can't do anything. You can literally send vibes to these people,
Yeah.
and the more you do that and like hold that, and then come back to yourself and living from the best possible place you can live for in your day, and being a bright light for others, like that's how we do this.
Mhm.
That's it's holding space for all the stuff that's kind of going on and letting people go through whatever they need to go through, and at the same time putting the best intention forward, and being your best self. I think that's what we can do during all these times.
100%. 100%. You know, the other day I was watching a girlfriend's live video, and she did a meditation with the group of people who were watching live, and you can go back and watch it, over and over and over. And it was about sending light. First, we lit up ourselves. We lit up ourselves, and then, if you were able, sending light to other parts of the world that, sorry, that need it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just envisioned, like, it, and it just hit my mind. It wasn't like, well, let me think about this. It was just like I had this vision of Putin in his room, his bedroom, and
Mm-hmm.
he falls to the floor, and he's grabbing his stomach, and he's like, oh my god, and he almost has like this epiphanic out of body, like like just boom, like out of nowhere, just this envision, like, and he just was like, he falls to the floor, he thinks he's dying, he doesn't die.
Mm-hmm.
This was just a natural vision that came to me, and he's laying on the floor, and then all of a sudden, like this energetic like vibration, just of lightness, and he just barrels out of his bedroom door. He throws open two doors. He's got a bedroom with two doors like this. And he just goes out, and he's like, stop the bombing, just stop the bombing. And that's just what came to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, did that happen? No. But it was like, I was just sending that energy that, did he feel that? Who knows? I mean,
Right. I mean, like, it's more than, also, I think that like we live in a 3D world and we see everything three-dimensionally, but this energy and stuff the light that we're putting out there, it's going beyond third dimension, right? Like you
Mhm.
go into fifth dimension and you go and beyond, and it's just there's other aspects that are at play. Energy is greater than matter, right?
Like,
Like
yeah, it is.
matter is
Matter is
created
energy.
matter is created from energy.
Yeah.
So So it's really starts with enough of us doing things like you did and sending that light and that intention and that belief for these things to shift. And
Hmm.
there's timing to all of it as well. But
Right.
it's great that you're doing that. You did that, and that you're doing that, and I continue to do that with my people as well. And I just think that's the best thing that we can do. To and we will be moving into this new age, if not in our lifetime. Like we're definitely pushing the momentum, and all these things that are happening also I think are indications that it is happening because
Yes. Yeah.
the
See.
stuff is
Yes.
being exposed. Yeah.
Yes, I 100% agree with you. Other not gonna I'm not getting into any specific details, but there have been things that have happened throughout the last few years that it's like, what? Again, that kind of like, what, like what?
Yeah.
But it's like, wait a minute, Stephanie, your reality, your lived experience, and who you choose to surround yourself with and read, watch, and believe is why it's like, how the hell? But there are so many others, obviously, that have a completely different paradigm of existence, which is why, we're experiencing what we're experiencing. But like you just said, the more and the more and the more of us who develop that emotional awareness
Mm-hmm.
and start to see and feel that we are a part of everything and everyone, and we are powerful, and nothing is impossible. Maybe not today,
Mm-hmm.
but 20 years, 100 years, 3,000 years, if anything is possible, anything is possible.
Right.
So,
Right. That's how I live. That's where I live from. So I totally agree.
oh my God, you're just I love your smile and your laugh. You just got like this just beautiful, like I can, you know, and you're not like I can see like the like I don't know about the if dry is the right word, but like the dry, like I like sarcasm, but
Uh-huh.
not in it like a well, I mean, I guess it can be like I pick on people. If I'm not calling you a big honking goob,
Right.
it's not necessarily a good thing. You want me to be calling you a big honking goob, but I like your like there's this confidence in in humor in your humor. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
gift.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, he's got to be somewhere at 2 p.m.
Yes.
So, thank you so much. I do want to go. I didn't look at the comments and read the comments because it started like interrupting people's trains of thought. But I want to read the comments.
Sure.
We've had Christina Will Spees, who is the master of organization of our event. She's like, oh, how crazy. I can believe that. That's a beautiful way to look at it. Love Dr. Joe. Hell yeah, girl. John Corbellini, he's going to be a speaker, men's empowerment coach. Hi, Stephanie. And then John says, can't wait to meet you, Vikash. Fernando, woo! He was on a couple weeks ago. Greetings to both of you. Great example to live by, example and purpose in life.
Yeah, buddy.
And John says, Vikash, anything is possible. The challenge comes when we put a time frame around it. Yes. Guys, thank you so much for being here today and on Empowered Conversations. Again, click the link, come to our retreat, come join us, even on Zoom. Come and join us. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and we'll say goodbye offline with Vikesh real quick.
Thank you guys
T-
for having me, for sure.
Toodaloo!
Hmm.